Jamie Mack, remember that? Daytona 500? Hey, this guy's a big game hunter. Big game out here in L.A. Well, they're trying to make a big game. He's on the pole for Sunday's California 400. 400 miles? Yep, 400 miles. They cut it back 100 miles. 2 less pit stops, they say. Well, I don't know. They say they got the Kansas tires, and the Kansas tires were sort of like flaky, to say the least. We were talking to Jimmy Johnson about the tires, and he says they threw them for a loop in Kansas, and they might be throwing them for a loop out here in California. 14 degrees going into the first turn at 208 miles an hour like they were today. California Auto Club Speedway. I tell you, they're slipping and sliding. Might be a rough day on Sunday, especially with 90-degree weather coming up. Jamie McMurray's on the pole with a new Richard Childress engine. Richard Childress. Is he bow hunting out in Montana right now? Might be. Every now and then he goes out there this time of year, and their team seems to do pretty well. Kevin Harvick's got a score to settle. Wants to win a race here. He should have won the race back in the spring. Got too impatient. Let Jimmy Johnson win. Jimmy Johnson atop the point standings. Everybody's gunning for him. Been sort of up and down this year. Me, I don't think he's going to win the championship. If he wins 5 straight, a lot of guys in the garage there were saying what they ought to do is just swap drivers with Dale Earnhardt Jr. See what Earnhardt's got to offer. Really. Chad, the whole team, Jimmy can get it done. Can Dale Jr. get it done? I don't think Rick Hendrick's going to do that, but people are getting a little nervous about Jimmy. Me, I'm thinking Richard Childress, those new engines. Juan Pablo's been running those things lately. Jamie's got one on the pole here. Versus Jack Roush. They've got a history. Talking about histories. Going back about 20 years. Remember Richmond back in 1990 or 1991? That 2-inch spacer plate that cost Jack the championship by about 25 points? I don't think he's forgotten that. 20 years later, Richard Childress versus Jack Roush for the championship. Hey, that'd be pretty good. Kevin Harvick starting deep in the field. And Joey Logano. He's been looking strong lately. And we talked to Greg Zipadelli, his crew chief, today. I tell you, they're fired up. They got something. I think that Joe Gibbs' bunch has found something. They might throw some water on the Richard Childress, Jack Roush thing. And what about the Rick Hendrick bunch? Jeff Gordon? Dale Earnhardt Jr. qualified well. Jimmy Johnson? Well, he won here in the spring, but he was awful lucky, remember? Almost got lapped. Kevin Harvick still ticked off over losing that particular race. Jack Roush, 4 of the top 7 guys, and this is a great Jack Roush track. Jack's in a good mood. Told him to step it up a notch. We like to see him back in the media center. When Jack gets on a roll, he's on a roll. He talks and talks and talks, and we love to hear him talk and complain and gripe and yell and scream and all that sort of stuff. That's good. Been a long time since we saw Jack in such a good mood. Casey Kane, Elliott Sadler's on the front row. And we've got Martin Truex up there, Greg Biffle. Hey, I'm looking at Carl Edwards to win this race. A lot of stuff going on here. One of the things that they have to look at is the crowd in the stands. This is the last race in September or October of the fall for this track. NASCAR and ISC decided to cut one of the 2 cup races from this track. They decided not to bring the Indy cars back. They're making some strange calls, if you ask me, for this being Los Angeles, one of the world's biggest markets. Los Angeles County alone is bigger than 42 of the 50 states. That's a lot of people. 26 million people out here, and they can't fill 92,000 seats? Well, I tell you, Fontana's a tough act. One of the highest unemployment rates in the country, and one of the highest foreclosure rates in the country, too. It's a sad situation. They were on a rebound a couple of years ago, and now it's a tough market. Can Gillian Zucker do something with this racetrack? Can Gillian Zucker put some fans in the stands? 92,000 seats. I don't know. Jack Roush is going to do his best to put on a show. Richard Childress is going to do his best to put on a show. I don't know about Clint Boyer. Seems sort of down right now. Scott Miller's going to be doing the crew chiefing, moving over from the competition director side while Shane Wilson serves out his suspension. I don't know about John Middlebrook. I was thinking he was going to make a decision and make a statement during the appeals process, but he didn't. Lowered the fine from $150 to $100,000, but let the 150-point penalty stand, so Clint's out of the chase, the guy that won the Loudon opener. Guilty as charged, illegal car. NASCAR won't say what the deal is exactly, which surprises me and makes me a little suspicious about the whole thing. A lot of mysteries in NASCAR right now. One of the biggest mysteries, the crowd on Sunday. Will there be a crowd on Sunday in the stands? Will there be people on their couches at home watching on TV? The first couple of races in the chase haven't been that impressive, and this track doesn't put on great racing. I'm wondering if this track needs to be needs to have slower speeds and higher banking. I think 23 degrees in the corners will be fine. Yes, sir. 23 degrees. Maybe even put a restrictor plate on them. We need to start thinking outside the box. And by outside the box, I mean throw away some of those templates. Hey, why can't we take a Ford, a Toyota, a Dodge, and a Chevy off the showroom floor and put them in a wind tunnel? Get some CD numbers and try to aero match those things. We've got to make this sport more in tune with what the fans see out on the highway. And we came up the 91 and the 60 from Los Angeles the other day. There's more action out there on the highway than there is at California's Auto Club Speedway sometimes. We need to change that dynamic. Put points for leading, points for winning races. We've got to change the dynamic, get the ratings up, and get more people in the stands. And Jamie McMurray, all he wants to do is win some races, win some more races. He ought to be in the chase. I like Jamie. Good guy. On the pole for Sunday's California 400, Mike Mullen from MikeMullen.net, California's Auto Club Speedway, Friday night.